New background. It's not finished yet, but, well, for now, you'll just have to stare at a white wall, and then, yeah, it's decent. What is going on, guys? Welcome to this video. My name is Cameron and we are reviewing the Amazing Spider-Man issue 17. Now, if you've probably noticed, I've got a new background and really I've got like a desk down here that you guys can't see, and I've got a picture on the wall, and what's going to happen is there's going to be like some shelves going up where you can see like figures that I've got, like Hot Toys if you know what they are, and Spider-Man statues and stuff like that. But until then, if you follow me on Instagram, then I've actually got a picture on there of my desk and like it lighting up and everything, so go to my Instagram if you want. Follow me. Do it. But yeah, so going back over to the comic review side of things, we've got the Amazing Spider-Man issue 17, and if you remember in the previous issue, we did have that new U technology sort of thing going on, and J. Jonah Jameson being approached at the end, so it seems like they're going to be a major part of what's coming up in the future of the Amazing Spider-Man series, especially with the Jackal and this whole cloning process again. And Dead No More, aka the Clone Conspiracy, is actually kicking off tomorrow, which is why it's really important that we catch up on the Amazing Spider-Man issue 18 and 19 for when Dead No More comes out tomorrow. So anyway, going back over to what we were seeing in the previous issue, we did know that New You isn't technically what it seems to be, and something's going to go terribly wrong, and that pretty much elaborates on that in this issue and takes us even further into what they are doing. So without further ado, guys, let's do it. Ah, God, I nearly died then. But anyway, going into the issue, so if you remember at the end of the previous issue, we saw Electro's ex-girlfriend come back to life before his eyes. And what's happening on screen is showing us exactly what happened when Electro accidentally murdered her. So she's recently been brought back to life in the present day, and now she's working with the Jackal and Rhino and Lizard and all that awesome stuff. And that is a really interesting way to open up the comic, because I do know some of you guys actually didn't remember about that happening. So that quick little opening of the issue brings you guys up to speed, which is awesome. So moving further into the issue, the comic does a really good job of throwing us back into the Spider-Man side of things, and this Spider-Man is actually Hobie Brown that we're seeing in the comic, and I know some of you guys are really confused as to why Hobie Brown is pretending to be Spider-Man when he's actually the Prowler, and the reason for that is because Peter Parker has hired Hobie Brown to pretend to be Spider-Man so that the public don't think that Peter Parker and Spider-Man are the same person. It's actually a pretty good idea. So I think one of the most recent things that I've noticed about Peter Parker in this all new, all different universe in general is obviously that he is a lot smarter. He seems to be getting a lot more in depth into like what he's looking into, and I think New You is kind of showing off the research capabilities that Peter Parker can do for himself. I mean, he's been researching this stuff like crazy, and especially because it's actually being done on one of his family members, it's almost like he's making it his life's mission to figure out more about New You. And it adds so much depth to Peter Parker's character, it's so good. And I think this intellectual side of Peter Parker is one of the best things that's actually come out of this all new, all different universe. Anyway, I don't know about you guys, but I feel really intrigued into what this New You Technologies sort of thing is going for, what this saga is actually going to bring to the table, and specifically going from Prowler's point of view. It's almost like we're getting a different Spider-Man out of this comic book. And if I didn't say so myself, I would actually really like it if there was a comic book about the Prowler pretending to be Spider-Man, you know, like from his perspective sort of thing of being Spider-Man and the Prowler like all the time and stuff. Like, that would be awesome. And if there actually is a comic like that, then you guys can let me know, because I actually do think there is a Prowler comic, but I don't know, maybe I'll have to pick it up. Let me know. This comic also somewhat escalates what's been going on in the previous issues, and we actually do get a few brutal things. Like, if you remember in the previous issue, we had Parker Industries explode and then some guy almost die and all this awesome stuff, and obviously Peter putting that person forwards for the New You experiment, and now his family's doing that, and then we've got Electro's ex-girlfriend that's here, and it's just all getting so crazy. And one of the most unexpected things that ever happens, Electro can't actually become Electro anymore, and that is such a major thing to play with in the Spider-Man comic, specifically because Electro is one of those long-time villains from the original Amazing Spider-Man comics, so to have Electro not actually be Electro anymore is quite scary and quite a delicate thing to fiddle with in terms of comic book writing. I was also extremely shocked when Electro's ex-girlfriend turned around and actually killed Max Dillon Electro to gain more power, because one of the strange things about this is that it's really unexpected because of how timid and frightened she seems, and then all of a sudden when she feels this power, it just takes over. It's really scary and pretty creepy. I also never actually noticed this before, but Hobie Brown as the Prowler is actually a really interesting character. It's almost like you're watching Spider-Man in the Prowler costume. He's just so likable, and you really feel for his character, like you care about him, you care what happens to him, and you really become emotionally invested as the reader. Now this comic does introduce Electro's ex-girlfriend Francine as the possibility of a new Electro. I mean, just look at the front cover of this comic. She's in the original Electro costume on the front cover. And of course, her asking for a costume a few pages ago also hints to that possibility of her becoming the new Electro of the all-new, all-different Marvel Universe. And that's not very good for Spider-Man or the Prowler or anyone in general in New York City, or in these comic books anyway, because she seems like a proper psychopath. Like, she seems like she's worse than Max Dillon as Electro. Like, just as you can see on screen, she cannot help herself from just becoming overcome with power and murdering people. And that's really frightening where a character doesn't have limits like that. Even Spider-Man's villains have limits, but this girl just doesn't. She's just sort of enjoying herself. She kind of reminds me of Silk, back when Silk first got her spider powers, or at least when she first appeared anyway. So to have a supervillain like that is a dangerous thing. A really dangerous thing. Now, just like every single Amazing Spider-Man comic, it always ends on some crazy cliffhanger that just tempts you to buy the next issue. And this comic is no exception. They actually bring the Prowler back to life. And I think the worst part about that is that the Prowler actually sides with them. He actually thinks that they're doing a good thing. Now, I know these guys are actually saying that they are the good guys and they're actually helping and everything like that, and it could be a possibility because, I mean, they didn't actually have to bring the Prowler back to life, but they kind of did, because if Prowler went missing, then Peter Parker would get suspicious and then all that crazy stuff would happen. So I think the real question is, why do they have to take this medication every single day for the rest of their lives from now on? If Prowler didn't take that medication, would he die again? Would he turn to dust? Would he turn crazy? Like, what is this thing behind this medication? We'll have to wait and find out. I'm calling it now. In one way or another, Peter Parker is going to feel so responsible for what's just happened in this comic. Regardless of whether he's alive or not, Hobie Brown still died. That's never going away. So this issue was awesome, and as you could see, Peter Parker wasn't really in it that much. We more or less saw it from the perspective of the Prowler Hobie Brown, and it was awesome. I was also very intrigued with the brutality from the other villains of the characters, you know, like the new Electro girl that's just come into it, and her brutally burning Max Dillon to death with electricity. That was crazy. And then the same thing with Hobie Brown as well. She seems like she's going to be such a dangerous character, and I can't wait to see her interaction with Spider-Man, specifically because she said that she was more interested in fighting Spider-Man or someone like him anyway. So she's a fan pretty much. I would probably waver between 8 or 9 out of 10 for this comic, because we did have some awesome panels that were showing off there in the comic. And like I've already said, I hope there is a Prowler comic. I think there is, but I want one where it's like specifically tailored to Prowler pretending to be Spider-Man, or maybe him having to deal with being Spider-Man and Prowler at the same time or something like that. If that comic exists, let me know. I'm still really interested in what is actually in that like tablet or pill or whatever he gives Hobie Brown at the end of the comic, because whatever's in that is actually stopping something from happening, and I think that's the end game. Either way, that pill is going to stop them from turning to dust or going insane or deteriorating into thin air or something. Something like that has got to happen, and the fact that Peter Parker has already put one of his family members forward for the New You project is serious. Especially when it has people like this working on that New You project. But that's for another issue and another review. So guys, what did you think? Let me know in the comment section below about this issue. What did you think about this new background? Obviously it's not complete. I've literally just got a picture right there. But I have put an Instagram picture up on my Instagram story to show you the rest of the desk and all the LED lights and stuff like that that are around it. It looks pretty cool, and hopefully within the next few days or within the next few weeks, it will be a little bit more finished. Yeah. Hit the subscribe button for more, and if you want to follow me on social media, the links are in the description, and if you want to support the channel, then become a patron, and last but not least, hit the like button guys, and I'll see you next time.